Real Talk disclaimer. The information provided by the host on this platform is for education and awareness purposes only. All information provided on this platform is provided in good faith. We make no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, validity, and reliability of information shared by the host or show guests. The views and opinions of guests on the show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the host of Real Talk. Under no circumstances do the host, show guests, sponsors, or affiliates assume responsibility for the actions of any viewer.
Our greatest glory is rising when we fall. So don't be discouraged, don't you be appalled. It's okay if you fall and maybe even lose your spark. Just make sure in the end you rise from the dark. It's time to rise up, time to work, and time to chase your dreams. The Lord has the final say, so your soul is redeemed. This message is to help you with your self-esteem, as faith will take you places that we have never seen.
Rise, we're rising, we're rising, we're rising, rise up, rise up, rise. So we're rising, we're rising, we're rising, we're rising, rise up, yeah.
Welcome to Real Talk. You have Pastor Z and Bishop T with you on tonight, and should be joining us in just a few minutes, but we're so glad to have all of you to join us on tonight. We have a very important guest that is going to be appearing with us on tonight. Very important guest that's going to be appearing, and we want everyone to let everybody know that the newest superintendent of the Gadsden City Schools is going to join us tonight for a very good and healthy conversation. A conversation that we have to have if we're going to produce some good students into the workforce and into the college life. Okay, so we want everyone to go ahead and share right where you are. Share. Let everybody know that Real Talk is on, and the several ways that you can actually join us here on Real Talk. You can join us on Facebook. That's right. All you got to do is go to Z Andre Huff page or Bishop Tanya Latham page. You can go to Real Talk with Pastor Z and Bishop T, and you can actually join us live. We also have a YouTube page. That's right. Real Talk with Pastor Z and Bishop T. And all we want you to do is like and subscribe. That's right. Like and subscribe. And every time we are on Real Talk, you will get a notification. And then there's a platform we all know now as X. It's Twitter. And we are R Talk with Z and T at R Talk with Z _T. Okay. Welcome. What's happening, Bishop T?
I wish I knew, Reverend. How are you?
We up in the house tonight, and we're excited about a great conversation. We're going to have someone on for the very first time on Real Talk. Listen, what we want to do, we want all of you to go ahead and get your hellos in. Share, tag other folks in. We want all 17 that is on right now to go ahead that we can see on Facebook Live. We're unaware of who's on or how many are on YouTube. Go ahead and share it on your page so that we will take over Facebook and YouTube for at least the next hour and a half or two. Okay. So we want you to do that. We want you to go ahead and speak. We're going to do roll call in just a few seconds. Okay. Go ahead and say your hellos. We're going to do roll call, and then we're going to bring our guest on. But before we do that, what's going on in your world, Bishop T?
Whew, it's been a busy week, Reverend.
Busy week. Busy week. I saw a lot of machines sitting over at the park on East Broad. So there's some work getting ready to get done down in the area. Huh?
That's right.
There's some work going on.
There's some work going on.
It's in District 1, and I saw quite a few machines. I'm like, man, are they finna get ready to show up, do some work in that area? So
and we're excited about it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Got it.
Well, we're excited.
What's going on in your world?
We just moving from here to there. We're making it happen. We do what it do. We make it do what it do, baby.
Let me ask a question.
Huh?
Let me
talk to me. You want to know why I got my shirt on? Let me give a shout out to my baby girl, Zoe Nicole Huff. That's right. She goes to Carrollton High School in Carrollton, Georgia. So I'm repping her today. Repping her today.
No, what I was about to ask were we having any tea today?
We're not having any tea, so we won't have.
We got. Are we on our best behavior day today since we have the superintendent on, the new superintendent on? Are we on our best behavior?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well,
I'm always on my best behavior.
Oh,
but we're gonna have a very great conversation, and I want the Gadsden City School parents, faculty, and staff to go ahead and tell everybody that our superintendent is about to be coming on in just a few minutes. But before we do that, y'all know what we have to do: our roll call. Yeah, baby. All right, want to say hello to Miss Katrina Davis. Hello, how are you? Miss Conteria Williams. Hello, how are you? Hello, Miss Charlotte Kinney. Hello. Miss Sheila Duckett. Hello, how are you? Loretta Jenkins. Hello, how are you? I want to say hello to my brother and sister-in-law, Sean and Marshall Huff. Hello. Miss Tashna Towles. Hello, how are you? Our assistant superintendent, Miss Sharon Manez. How are you doing? Pastor Roderick Thomas. Hello, how are you? Miss Veronica George. Hello, how's everybody tonight? We got Miss Epiphany Cherry, Jocelyn Warford. We have Tara Townsend, Tracy Horton, Doris Payne, my nephew Chris Staples. What's happening? Miss Candy Bothwell. Hello. Miss Patricia Cook. Hello. All right. We got a crowd on tonight.
I believe you like this song, though.
Oh, I love this song.
Like this song. This song. What is
Welcome to Real Talk. Pastor Z and Bishop T. Hello, how are you? All right. We have Marcia Cunningham. Hello, how are you?
That's Marika.
Marika, that's right, Marika. All right, Elder Parker, what's happening? Lormika Norris Woods. Hello. All right. I tell people about that particular song. We have our board member, Miss Rita Smith, joining us on tonight. Hello, how are you today? I tell people about that song. That song, when I first started DJing back some time ago, there was a man. He has deceased now. Most of us know him as Kenny Alexander. Man, he was the GOAT when it come down to working in radio. and he along with Mitchell Cool Breeze Williams and Smiley Joe, all of those guys, Shawnee J, all those individuals, they took me under their belt, and that was the song that whenever we did a shift change, you'll work 6 hours and then the shift change. That song, we would play that song as we separated the shift. So um, I love that song, and I wanted to kind of bring that back. How about that?
You bringing it back now.
All right.
You bringing it back.
Katina Thompson, hello. Hello, George Hughley. All right. Okay, all right. We have a whole lot of people. Listen, I want you all to share it on your page, okay? Share it on your page. And we're getting ready to bring the newest superintendent of the Gadsden City Schools on tonight, everybody. I want you to welcome none other than Mr. Keith Blackwell. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, man. Hear you good. You hear all those folks clapping for you, man?
Well, I'm going to address a couple of things right off the bat. First of all, whoever does your promo, whoever put all that together, that's pretty good. And I don't know that I'm going to be addressing either one of you as Z or T, but I think that's pretty good. I like that.
Okay, well, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
We appreciate
And
it. Those some hidden gems.
all right, so you have to help me out now. So I'm assuming that everyone that you have that you just said hello to can all hear me now.
They sure can. They sure can.
I saw one of the names of a lady who I have not had the chance to talk to in quite some time. I saw Doris Payne's name come up, so I'd certainly like to, I guess, give a shout out to her because I haven't seen Doris in a long time, just to say hey.
Yes, and everyone can hear you, Doc. Everyone can hear you. I want everybody to share on your page this particular program, and then tag people in and let them know that the superintendent of the Gadsden City School System, Mr. Keith Blackwell, is joining us tonight on Real Talk. Now, I do want to let you know in the video of the intro of our program, the singers on there is my son Jalen, is the one rapping, and then L'Oreal Robinson is the singer on that song. So they collaborated and did a song together, and we put that in with our intro. So just want to let you know that you'll be very proud of your former students.
Yes. And look, I'm not going to give you a comment about Carrollton. I'll just leave that alone.
Yeah. Leave that alone. My baby girl, I gotta represent.
Yes, I don't blame you.
Well, have the ink dried on the contract yet? We just voted it in on Tuesday. You signed it, and it hasn't dried yet. And here you are on one of your first interviews with the city of Gadsden, talking to the parents, students, faculty, and staff about what's to come for Gadsden City School System. So let me first say congratulations, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, let's go ahead and get it out the way. You and I are good, aren't we?
We are.
Let the people know. Let the people know that we're good. It was nothing personal. It was the process that I thought maybe we needed to hear your vision, but you're in there, and we're supporting you. And now we get an opportunity to hear your vision and to also hear what your plans are and what do you see the problem is with our system. You've worked under several superintendents, Dr. Miller. Was you under Russell?
Yeah, as a teacher I was.
As a teacher. So you came into the system under Russell, right?
I did.
Okay, and then you worked under Dr. Miller. And you also served as the principal of the high school, the one high school that we do have, Gadsden City High, under Dr. Miller. And you have been working with the officers in the schools. We just had a little something go on just the other day, and we placed our school on high alert. And there are some things that took place under your tenure at Walnut Park and other issues that you had to address. And so we have now you are sitting in the seat You actually have the steering wheel in your hand. First thing I want to ask, um, did you recognize the issues from the past walking into this particular seat or position?
I have because I've been in the system now for quite some time. Been in all different kind of roles, from teacher to assistant principal, principal, central office. So I certainly have seen a lot over the years. Had a lot of conversation over the years. I had a lot of conversation with students, with former students, with parents. So it helped me get a good grasp, on what we have going on within the city and the school system. Um, and this may sound a little bit, I don't know, sometimes I don't want to try to sound cheesy, I guess, but, I had to do some little interview the other day. And, I told the person interviewing me that, I think over the years that my students, I've gotten more from my kids than I think I've given them. I think they've made me a better person. I think they taught me how to be compassionate. They taught me how to be an advocate, which, you heard me say that the other day. So I've enjoyed my time, and I'm happy to be where I'm at. I don't think it was what I set out to necessarily do. And when I got into education, I got in as a teacher. My aspirations at that time were just to teach, but I think things have led me to this point, and I'm happy to be at this point.
Awesome, awesome. Um, let's talk about report card.
Okay.
Currently, we sit where overall as a system?
At a 78 at a C.
At a 7A is a high C, almost a B. Okay.
Correct.
Let's talk about it. Because you talking about 3 or 4 points. We looking pretty good with a B. A comfortable B. Okay. What are the issues that is keeping us from getting a B as a system overall? Because we celebrated Floyd, we celebrated is it Stripling, raising their grades up. Adams does a tremendous job with the population that they have. Thompson, I had opportunity to be at Thompson just the other day to read across America, and those kids, those children were spectacular, man. They was very respectful. You hear the stories from some teachers that's in the classroom with them. I don't know if they was told you better be on your best behavior or not, but they was excellent. I enjoyed reading to them and sharing with them. And I do think our future is bright with our youth. We have a lot of things that is approaching if you're not reading by the 3rd grade and on the 3rd grade level, you'll be retained. But what are the issues that you see? And I know we talk about them, but you sitting in that seat looking down, and you've been around for quite some time. What could we have improved on that we need to work on that will help us get where we really need to be?
The report card, there's going to be different things for different schools. In one area, some of the areas were chronic absenteeism, which is something that's tough, for us necessarily to control. Even though we do get involved, we make contact with parents. It's something we want to encourage parents to make sure their kids are in school, because chronic absenteeism will correlate itself to the scores of those kids who are missing a lot of days of school. If they're not in school, then the teacher's not there to try to help them. They're not in front of a teacher for them to help them learn. So we've got just various issues. A lot of what I feel like is that parental involvement is a big thing that I'm going to push and to preach, so to speak. You can also wrap that into the scores of kids. The parents who stay involved, the parents who set expectations. And that's something that people are going to hear me say till the point that they probably get tired of hearing me say it. Our teachers work. Our principals want their schools to be successful. There's no principal that we have that walks into the building, and not wanting to be successful. They know that. They know the pressure of that report card. They know the pressure of trying to get those kids moving. Because if you look at our scores, if you look at some of the scores we have, we improve in the gap. We we move the needle for kids. But for some kids, it's trying to get to that achievement level of the grade that they're in. So, which to me speaks to getting into that early, getting into the kids in K through 3, getting in those younger elementary ages, which requires, to me, a lot of parental involvement. Those kids go home, and you need to have a parent or someone who can be just all on board. And I'm stop me if I get to rambling, because I'll get to going on
Oh,
something
you
now.
go ahead.
Uh,
It's your night tonight. We want to
yes,
hear
it's
from you.
and that's what I need you as a board, and I told you as a board, and for Councilwoman Latham. I mean, we all have to get involved in trying to make parents understand that we need you. Our teachers need to have that healthy relationship with parents. We want parents to feel comfortable. I want parents to feel comfortable coming to a school. Sometimes, I've asked these questions over the years. Sometimes parents feel a little intimidated, so to speak, if that's the best word, of coming to a school. And I don't want them to feel that way. I want them to understand that our teachers and principals are on board with them, and they need that relationship with those parents to help move that needle even higher to get to that achievement level. So we have some things to really work on. We have a growing Hispanic and EL population that's a subgroup to a lot of our scores at some of our schools. So we're working on things to help that, which includes those who are EL, those who are trying to learn English.
Mm-hmm.
That population has grown over the last several years. I think as a school system, we're around 17%, which, many years ago it was around 5.
And
So,
you
that,
and I, we kind of talked about it in our work session the other day. One of the issues that we see with the EL students is that they come to school to learn English, but they return back home to speak in their fluent language, which
mhm,
is Spanish, because their parents is unable to speak English. So they're going to struggle with the second language, which is the English. If whenever I'm only using it to try to learn something for the 8 hours that I'm in school, and then when I get home, I'm back in my language that I'm accustomed to. So it doesn't help develop. And so you and I was talking about a possibility, the parents, someone, we put some in place where we can teach the parents how to speak English, so that they can kind of communicate when they're at home in English, to sharpen and to help them to be
mhm.
able to develop their English speaking.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's and you say that, me and Miss Smitherman, we had that conversation yesterday evening. She called me talking about trying to come up with ways to help our parents, whether it be some of the grants that we have, some way to work on getting some help. And I'll say this, if anyone out there knows, we try to find those out there who could help us as an aid, just as a contractual aid that could be in the classroom to help translate. We've visited some schools. We visited some schools close by who have a really high Hispanic and EO population, just to see how they deal with teaching the English along with trying to teach content.
mhm.
And a lot of that got back to having someone in the classroom that could translate while the teacher speaking English. Uh, you know that that would come in handy. We found a couple. So if we're going to try to reach out to some of our Hispanic churches to see if there's some people willing to work with us on, maybe even if it's not full time, part time basis, just to help in some of our classrooms to get those children comfortable. But you're right. The elementary kids, it's going to be tough for them. We've talked about some of our high school kids and making sure we can help them get jobs. So that way, if they're in a job after school, it puts them in a situation where they're going to be using English
Mhm.
after hours, as you say. We have two full classes at the high school that are taught by two of our people on just teaching English. I've visited
And
them
that's
last
at the
week.
high school level.
It is.
Like we may need to, and it's just me talking, down on the elementary level. If we can catch them at a younger age, and I know sometimes they don't always start with us. They just happen to sometime get in our system, enter our system in the middle or high school level. But if we can catch them down there, because you know, the older you get, the more the struggle will be. And that's
Mhm.
just, if we could find someone to do that, um, to help our population, because it's difficult if you don't understand English. I mean, how do you expect me to be able to pass these tests and to be able to get the understand the instructions?
Yes,
Because reading and comprehending is there's a whole different thing.
it is. And,
One thing to be
and
able
this
to call those words, but another thing to be able to comprehend what you're reading.
correct. Look, and that goes across the board, just not for the EL population. That's for all of our kids. And I've said that to the principals, and we'll say that to parents. If you're going to read with your children at home, it's one thing to read, which is wonderful that they recognize the words you read, but it's another thing to also understand what you're reading, to understand the definitions of the word that you read, that vocabulary. But to get back to what you're saying about it, we're going to have what we call a newcomers academy. We'll have that this summer with kids that we can continue this summer in trying to teach those kids English.
Mhm.
So it's something we have to work on. One of the classes at the high school, it was formed in just the last month and a half.
Okay.
Of kids who have been coming in and enrolling. So we know it's something that we have to address. So we're going to continue to work, but I ask you, and I'm glad that you let me use this platform. I told you that the other day, and anybody else who may want me on. So the city needs to hear that what we need. The city needs to hear, that we could use help in that area, because those parents do come to parent nights. I went to me and Miss Vanessa went to Adams. They had their parent night a couple weeks ago, and we probably the majority of parents there were are Hispanic parents. They came. They came to parent night, so they want to be involved.
That's good.
And it's good to see. I think last year at graduation, I can honestly say over the years I've been at every graduation and seeing kids walk across stage. That was the most of our Hispanic kids that I've seen cross the stage at graduation, which is good to see. It's good to see them come and stay with us and make it through to graduation. So that's a good thing, but we still need help, and we still need help, especially at a young age, and that's across the board. I'm going to push, and the high school will always be in my mind my high school, just because after being principal there, you feel like it's always going to be yours. That's nothing against Mr. Gullidge, but the high school has always been important to me. But we've really got to push the young kids.
Right.
Because if we can get them on level early, and anybody can Google this while I'm talking. Getting kids on level early leads to much more success as they go from there to middle school to high school, because their self-esteem is up, because they can read with their peers. I mean, and they're just going to academically do better. If they start getting behind early, you get into behavior issues, you get into self-esteem issues. So that's how important it is for everyone to get involved. And I had a secretary a couple of years ago that said, and this has stuck with me. We were just in the front office talking at one of our schools, one of our elementary schools, and she said, if parents could just give us 30 minutes, if parents could just give us 30 minutes a day, in the morning, just make sure that they're ready to go, got, clothes, proper clothes, everything looks good. If they want to eat at home, they've eaten at home. But when they get home, just how were your grades? How was school today? You have any homework? You have a test tomorrow. You got a test this week. Um, just give us that. Give us some time to be involved, and that has so much power to it. So much power. I'm not somebody on the outside looking in. I've lived this for most of my adult life. I've heard the stories. I've talked to the kids. I've talked to parents. And you heard me say this the other day. I lived at that high school. There was no other high school to go to. It was, you're at Gadsden High School. So I told the freshmen every year that came in and told the parents, those of you that stay involved with your children in high school, they're so much more likely to walk across that stage with some intent, with something to go to, because they've had expectations placed on them for the 4 years they were in high school. And I know sometimes that may be difficult. I know some parents may work second shift, so it's not just parents. To me, it's the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents, the churches. I know that we have a lot of churches. I think Roderick's name was on your group of those
Hmm.
listening. So I'm going to implore the churches to get involved. I'll come to your churches. I mean, I'll go wherever it is we need to go. And I told you we're going to try to get more resources mobile. We have a parent teacher resource center that we always encourage parents to come to. But we want to go mobile. We want to be able to take those resources to the neighborhoods, to parents. So I'll stop for a minute and let you talk because like I said, I'll get going.
Well, I'm gonna allow Bishop T to share in just a few minutes, but I do want to say that I commended her along with Miss Maness and Miss Mottral on collaborating to bring that family night to the venue. Most recently, it was well attended. Parents was there, and they was actually uh, we were sharing the importance of learning to read. They had your reading coaches there, and just giving the information concerning what to look for with the bill that's being passed down. So I know that Bishop T is a former teacher as well that taught in our system at several schools. So education is dear to her as well. She have a auntie and cousin who have served and is serving as principal. Patrice Maxwell is her first cousin. Don't hold it against her. But but so education is big. Education is big. So Bishop, what do you want to share or want to add?
I hear the parental involvement, and I know that we have combined um, the three high schools. I don't know how many years that is now. So we now have three middle schools and what is it, eight elementary schools.
Yes.
I want to ask this question: do you feel that there are discrepancies or disparities from one school or one area of school, if I can ask it that way, if you feel that way, if you feel that there are those discrepancies or disparities, whether it be um, whatever area it may be in, what is the attempt of the school system or your vision to lessen or to rid schools or neighborhoods of those so that because I heard you talking about parental involvement. There are those neighborhoods where children go home and there's not a parent. They wake
Mhm.
up, there's not a parent. And it's not because it is um their desire, but it's the way it is because there's a parent working or so I guess I'm asking if you feel that there is, what is the vision or goal or attempt of the system to lessen those or to even address those where need be? And my my question is kind of loaded, I guess. But do you feel that educators today are aware of those sometimes discrepancies or disparities, and do they understand that when they're teaching, when they are instructing, or they have those different situations?
Well, yes, I mean, community, the whole community environment is certainly important to everything that we do. So when you speak of disparities, I mean, obviously, like you just said, I mean, every community that we have within our school system is certainly different, and we do have those homes where they're going home to someone who's at work, and they may be going to a neighbor's house to stay. We know that. We pour a lot of resources into all of our schools. There's no one school that we're going to put more resources in than others. I mean, a lot of them receive federal money, state money, interventionists, all kind of things like that are put in place for a lot of our schools. Now, to answer your question, which I'm glad you asked that, I think what you said at the very end of your question was we certainly encourage our teachers to understand their community. I've preached that. I've preached that to the principals, and I know that the principals say that because some of us, and I used to say this a lot too at high school. It's hard to sometimes understand. Like I'd always say, don't tell a kid that you understand. Like, don't tell some kid that you understand if you grew up in a home and you had mom, dad, and everything else, and this child is in a situation where they don't. So when you're talking, don't say that because you don't understand. You have to, and I said this earlier too. My kids made me a better person. They did. They taught me a lot in my first 3 or 4 years of school. So we encourage teachers to get to know their kids. We encourage because once you build trust with your students, once the kids understand that you care about them, and it can't be fake. It's got to be genuine. It's got to be a genuine love for your kids. You have a lot less. You have a lot less problems in your class. We've seen that. I've seen teachers over the years, like all these years, teachers who kids wanted to take the class because they knew that teacher cares. And then you see some teachers who struggle because they don't relate as well to the kids. So I'm not going to deny that that's happened over the years, and it could still happen to this day. But we certainly encourage, and I'll continue to encourage. I say this to the principals about the staffs that they have. If the kids really feel like you care about them, regardless of their situation, regardless of what part of town they're in, if they feel like you care about them, you're going to accomplish a whole lot more because they're going to pay attention to you as a teacher, as a principal, as a counselor, lunchroom, custodial, anything. These kids need someone to care about them. Even if they do have an entire home life and they have a good home life, they come to a school not just for us to try to teach and help them to learn. I think a lot of what we do is trying to build character. So I don't know if that completely answers your question. I mean, I know that there's disparity, but the disparity, once again, I know with parental involvement, and I told this to Reverend Huff when we had our work session. I've listened to it for just about every year I've been in. That don't, there's nothing you can do. We're going to stipulate to the fact that parents just aren't going to be involved. Uh, and it's hard for me to sit and take that. It's hard for me to sit and say that I'm not going to at least make the attempt. I'm going to go down swinging trying to get people involved in what our kids do. Now, if I can't get it done, then I'm going to tell everyone I tried because everyone's going to hear it.
Right.
So, yes, we do understand that some neighborhoods have issues, and a lot of that falls on our shoulders as educators to be an advocate for the kids you have in your class. Not every kid comes from the same situation, but they all need us. So that's what I want all of us to understand, and that's what I'm going to preach it and keep preaching it. So I don't know if that completely answered, I think, what you were asking.
I think it did. I think it did to some degree. I think it did. And being a former educator and knowing that you are right, students do they do know whether you're coming from a genuine place, or whether you're just doing it because you have to. And I often
Mhm.
refer back to, I'm sorry, but I refer back to Chick-fil-A since everybody's a lover of Chick-fil-A. Everybody talks about that, it's my pleasure. But you can tell when the it's my pleasure is in the script and when it flows naturally. If you're on the other side, you sense that and you feel that. Um, Parental involvement, I think, is the key, but some is very much the key. Somebody, Pastor Huff, you put it up earlier. It takes a village. What I have noticed in maybe the last few years, that parents, how can I say this? Parents are absent, and in most cases, grandparents are present, sometimes even great grandparents. So you have now maybe a person from, or a grandmother from the boomer generation, or sometimes the boomer generation or buster generation, but a lot of sometimes from the boomer generation, that's trying to navigate um, this whole 21st century way of teaching the methods that are used. Because a few weeks ago, my great niece, 8 years old, and my mother was trying to help her with the math homework. And by the she called me, and when I got to the house, honest to goodness, my mom's blood pressure was up. And it wasn't that the child was frustrated, my mom was frustrated. And I was talking to my aunt about it today. I think to some degree, education in the United States is, how do I say this? Things that were, I never thought I would sound like my mom helping my great niece.
How you sound? Let me hear how you sound.
I was like, you don't have to do it that way. This is the way to do this. So, hush. So I had a conference with her teacher a few days ago. Awesome teacher, and she explained to me in mathematics there were like 4 different ways for this child to come up with the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And this child has to mentally be able to, second grade, say, I'm going to use one of these 4 ways to come up with this answer. And that was just mind blowing to me.
And it's like a long version of it. What do y'all call that, Mal?
One of them
it's
was
a name for it.
Break apart, the number line adding, the number line subtracting, and I don't know what the other one was. Something friendly or something. I don't know what it was. And It blew me away. It blew me away. And my aunt, my aunt, who is Patrice's mother, former educator and principal, she was helping some kids, and she told them, look, this is the way you do it. You add the ones place, you do, and so I wonder, it hurt me, because my thing was that I said to my mother, it hit me that there are children who have gone home today, and Zariah is blessed. She has aunts and a tea mama that's here working with her, but there's a kid that's at home now that has these 3 or 4 worksheets that
no one is there to assist.
Either nobody is there, or they've got a boomer grandmother that's trying to get through this. So I understand very well when you say outside entities like churches have to get involved in some way or another. I mean, being a former educator and looking at education today, I commend the genuine teacher that's hanging in there. I really do. I commend that teacher that takes into consideration. And I guess that's what I was saying. Sometimes I don't know that teachers really deal with the fact that there are disparities at home. That there are those things that are going on at home. And then when that child comes to school, we really don't know what that child has gone through to come and sit down in that class. And then do you really, because I would like to say deal with every child the same way, but there is that child that you've got to take to the side, or that you've got to meet there in the morning or stay a little later with, so I get it when you say parental involvement, but I don't know. I think it is very.
It's tough, but I don't think we can sit back and not address it. I don't think we can just accept it. I think that it gets back to what I said earlier about we've got to make parents feel comfortable with the school so that they can reach out, because every teacher's email address, if the parent or grandparent wants to choose to do so, can stay in contact with that teacher. And when they need help with homework or they need help with some type of classwork, we want that's a big part of me wanting to get everyone comfortable with the schools, because I think sometimes it's I'm struggling at home with my child. I can't do. Look, I've been there. You get to a point when you're helping a child with homework, you think, "Whoa, this is getting over my head." I used to could do this, but I can't anymore. I don't remember it. But to have the lifeline, so to speak, of being able to email a teacher and various resources that we have out there that they could click on and look at. So it's gotten to the point in education that it's a team effort. And that's all of us. That's me. That's you. That's the Reverend. That's all. Everyone listening. And you bring up something about teachers, which I was going to get to. So, Reverend heard me, talk about this last week. I'm generally worried about the teaching profession. I think that we are hemorrhaging teachers across the country. We're having those who don't want to get into education, and those that do. The retention rate is not really good, especially in Alabama. It's around 60%, the 4-year retention rate. So you're losing 4, maybe 5 in the span of out of 10 in the span of 4 years. And I think a lot of that is just the overall respect for teachers. I think I can age myself along with the good Reverend there. I mean, you go back in time and, if a teacher called home and said there were issues and you got home, it was going to be dealt with. There was that genuine respect for teachers. I'm not saying it's completely lost, but we've got to get respect for our teachers. We got to let teachers know that we're in this with you as far as the community. Everything is not on your shoulders. We're not going to point our fingers at you all the time when things don't go right and say this is all your fault. I mean, when Reverend brought us a report card, yes, we want to do better. We're working to do better. And it may be peaks and valleys with a report card, but our teachers work. I mean, I've gone in classes and watched, and the 3rd grade teachers that we have who are, working on the Literacy Act. They've got so many varying degrees and different levels within their own classes of learning. So it's a tough chore for them, but and I've got to talk to them, and I've got to talk to other teachers, and it's the feeling of we're out here on an island. And no one respects what we do anymore, and everything is kind of our fault. Does that mean that we can do better? Sure. There's things we can do, professionals above all things we do to teach our teachers, various ways to teach, but they need that pat on the back. And if the parents get involved, that relationship between a parent, to hold each other accountable. I, as a parent, going to hold you teachers accountable, you principals accountable, you superintendent accountable. But at the same time, I, as teacher, superintendent, principal, need to hold you parents accountable. We need to work together, because ultimately the goal is to get the kid after 12 years across that stage with a goal in mind. I would tell my seniors every year, do not shake my hand at graduation, or we're going to hug, or whatever it may be. And then when you walk past me and you go sit back down, you don't know what it is you're going to do next. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, I've graduated. Now what? Don't be in that position. But that takes all of us to get those kids there.
Right.
And I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but sometimes when people get upset about, people may holler at graduation and you make all the announcements, please, stay quiet. I would tell people sometimes, look, I get it. If some parents or families holler, that might be the first kid in the family that made it across that stage.
Right.
They're celebrating that. So it takes all of us. But I would implore you as a councilwoman and Reverend Huff as a board member that within your districts, so the schools that you have, stop by the school. Stop by the next time you get with that principal and say, hey, when's your next faculty meeting? Go by, tell those teachers, I appreciate you. Take them some donuts or something, we appreciate what you do. I think they need to hear that, because I truly worry. And I know Sharon may be listening, maybe not here, but she would agree. We talk about this often. What can we do to retain the teachers that we have? I want them to think, and I thank you, Councilwoman. I know all of you are involved in helping us at that Christmas dinner. I think that meant a lot to teachers to say thank you. Thank you for what you do. They need that.
So anything that you can do to help us there. Principals as well. Our principals work their tails off. They all have different situations that they have to deal with. They all, we always talk about, like Reverend Huff said yesterday, we're always at the mercy of some teenage impulse. You don't ever know what you may get in education, but we all work towards that common goal, which is graduation, walking across that stage with a plan in mind when you're done. So,
I think let me say this because I think the concerns of another local being the superintendent is that we're going to get what we just have gotten.
right,
So, in that being said, I know you go into a lot of superintendent conferences, and we've heard this before about absentees, and we've heard before about parents not being involved. And it's like the wheel is keep turning. It's the same thing that's being said. Don't know the actions that was taken in the past. But are your actions for as turning the system around, changing parents getting involved and changing the absentees and the other issues that we have dealt with in the past? Are you approaching it from a different standpoint, or are you taking a different approach to it to try to make it change? Because if we keep doing the same thing, expecting different results, it's not going to happen. So we have to
correct.
do something. And I know that, when I go off to conferences, I kind of network with other board members. And there's times that we've had issues going on in our system that I would pick up the phone and call someone in Birmingham, or someone in Georgia that I've met and talked to, just to see what kind of approach are they taking, because it doesn't hurt to try to tackle it from a different angle. So, are the approach that you're making different than the approach that we've made in the past?
It's hard to really say because kind of in my role over the years, I've kind of been in my lane of dealing with issues that I have to deal with, whether it be transportation and safety type things. So, I've never really been so, as you say, in the driver's seat. I
Hmm.
do know I want to get out into the community as much as possible. I'm not an office person. Um, like I said, Sharon and those up there at the office get on me all the time about not being in the office, that I need to be there, which I do. I need to be there for certain things, but I like to be out. I like to be seen. I like to be accessible. I don't want to be a superintendent who people feel that that you can't, talk to. Uh, because I do really want to reach out. I think going mobile, I think, getting into bringing our stuff and our resources into communities. I don't know, it's something that we've done before. I can't. We're at a point now, and can I call you Bishop T? Is that okay?
You can call me. You can call me Bishop T. You can call me Tanya.
Yeah, I got to.
I like the
You
way
Because,
you did
yeah, I got to make sure that I'm proper now because you're one of
that.
our council women. But
Mhm.
Bishop, it's a good point about just getting in the community. And I can, and I'm encouraging our principals, but I want our principals to be more visible. I want our principals to be within their districts. I had and that kind of hit me a little bit this summer. I had a principal who was, I went by just to say, hey, see how things are going. And he wasn't there at the time. And I was, asked, well, is he here today? He is. I said, is he in the building? No, he's out riding his bike in the neighborhood. And I thought, well, riding his bike in the neighborhood. I thought, okay. So, I kind of walked into school, talked to some teachers, just see what was going on. I walked back out front, and here he comes up on his bike. And he does that in the summer because he can stop and talk to people in the neighborhood. Here's the principal being seen in the neighborhood riding around and just speaking to people. It's things like that that we need to try. It's things
Different.
like that
That's
that we need to
different.
do
Yeah.
because
That's
it get
unique. That's being creative as well.
yes,
So those are the things that I'm looking for. And I think we have to do, stretch our creativity, and do different things to get people involved, not using gimmicks, but there have to be a reward, or they have to be able to see a reward somewhere. And like you said, if that reward is just giving them, if they able to read on a level, and then to be able to give that child and maybe uh, the mother, or if there's a father that's around, give them just a meal for the day or whatever, and reward them. But and that pushes them to push that individual to try to do better. But we have to take a different approach.
Um, and you're right, Reverend. But that that's all of us. Though I'm going to keep harping on that. That's I can't have people in the city, and I'm going to get on my soapbox. And we can't talk a good game. We've got to do it. We've
Right,
got to build those. Building relationships is the most important thing that we can do. And I'm telling you, and I'm going to tell you as a board member, I hope that our scores go up. We want our scores to go up, but I think that if we're going to kind of roller coaster, up and down, some schools do good one year and some next. I still think in my heart of hearts, just because I've lived in the city, I've lived around these kids, and I've lived and had these conversations. If we can get more people involved, I think we can move the needle. And I'm going to give you you're a basketball guy. I mean, we can't sit back in a zone. We're going to have to full court press it.
yeah,
We're going to have to, all of us, just get involved and talk it. When I love the fact you have this show. That's what I told you the other day. Put me in front of whomever I need to talk to. But we've got to get people working with our kids, because, as Bishop T said earlier, when you talk about disparity, I mean, there are going to be some kids, the younger kids, they can't control the situation they're in. They're in that situation, and that's all that they know. That's all that they have. It gets back once again, relationships with teachers and those kids. I'm knowing a little bit about what goes on at that particular house, knowing the kids in your classroom. The teachers who I've seen over the years who really excel get back to those who know their kids.
right,
Know their kids even after they leave them. When it's a class change, and those kids that they taught the year before walk by, and it's, hey, how was your volleyball game last night? Hey, how's your mom doing? Or how's your brother who was here with us 3 years ago? Having those conversations, the kid feels like I've got somebody I can talk to, someone who knows me.
right.
Um,
And that's, I think that is very key. There was an incident that took place last year, um, with a young lady. She got into a fight. Never been in a fight before. Person had been picking with them. Um, she lost her grandmother by surprise. It wasn't expected. Lost her grandmother, and she's grieving.
mhm.
So she gets into this fight, and when she get into this fight, I actually made some calls. I didn't call you, but I actually made some calls, and I said to some of the people that was investigating, I need y'all to consider she just lost her grandmother. She's grieving. Take that into consideration. She's being bullied as well. Take that in consideration before you start handing out these harsh punishments as if this is something that she does all the time.
Mhm.
She's grieving. And I know firsthand what grief feel like, and to be angry in grief. Angry to the point I want to hurt somebody. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
So the situation went on, and the young lady that was actually a cheerleader kicked off the cheerleader squad, unable to join a cheerleader. I mean, none of these things was considered. But if and it wasn't a secret that the young lady had just lost her grandmother. I mean, it wasn't anything expected, just all of a sudden. So going through hard, and that was not taken into consideration. They understand the rules, but what I try to tell people, you have to take some things into consideration before you just go punishing individuals for things that happens. And that's getting to know them, having a personal relationship with them.
You're right on that, and that's relationships, which I'm big on. I didn't say, I'm gonna have to get some glasses at some point in time because trying to look at this phone and try to read this stuff, it's all getting blurry to me all of a sudden. But I mean, early on, I saw some of the names. I think when you were, saying hey to everyone, and having those relationships, I think is uh, probably one of the bigger assets that I have. Because I have a lot of kids who are now, I say kids, to me, they'll always be kids. So, I mean, when they say kids, but that are parents, parents within our city. And because I've had those relationships with them, I think that it makes it easy for me to, and Miss Mendez and a lot of other people, not just me, but we have a lot of, we've developed relationships over the years with our students who are now older, and it makes it a lot easier to have those conversations. It makes it easier to, if I think that they need to do a better job as a parent to get more involved, then I'm going to let them know that. I'm going to let them know I don't want them disappointing, their children or disappointing me. It helps having relationships because it makes, um, look, it just goes back to like what y'all use as your show title, Real Talk. It gives you the opportunity to have those conversations and not beat around the bush. Just get straight to it because you have those relationships. So
Right.
this is one of the most important things that we can do.
I do want to say this just from conversations, and we haven't had many, but just from conversations and hearing your heart when you first went in for for your teachers, for your staff, your faculty, your principals, and Miss Menez. Both of you have a heart for the teachers, the faculty, the staff as a whole, the faculty and staff as a whole. And I think that's good because I think the biggest part of morale for me as an educator was knowing that I had administrative support. And when it wasn't there, it's hard to know that you're trying to accomplish a goal in your classroom and you don't have that administrative support to make that happen. So I think that that's an awesome thing. That's a great thing. And so as not to be long, I do want to ask you, and I was trying to see how to kind of combine my questions from this point. Someone mentioned on here, I do want to mention this. It was I think it's Felicia Simpson said we need more community school conversations. And I do believe that we have to come to the table, and you were just saying it, and have those conversations. And sometimes those conversations are tough conversations. But I do believe that we have to conversate in order to get better. We have to recognize and then accept where we are, and then make a plan to come from where we are to where we desire to be. So I want to ask you, coming into this position, and you may have answered it, I don't know, but coming into this position, I think Pastor Z said, alluded to it earlier, but what do you see most of all? I get the parental on that side.
Mm-hmm.
I get what parents need to do. From the board side, from the education side, teachers are teaching. What's maybe the most important thing that you think needs to happen from the board of education side, from the board side in our system?
I'm sorry, are you talking, excuse me, are you talking like from the central office standpoint or
From a
from like the
central
actual
office
school
standpoint,
board side?
from a policy, or from that standpoint, because I do believe that it takes parents, it takes the educator. But if there's one thing that you could see happen, and you may not think anything needs to happen, and that's fine to say that as well. So I probably should say, is there something that needs to happen on the central side, the central office side, or the board of education side, to improve the system Am
Yeah,
I? And if you can't, if it's
no, that's a good question. Good question. And I've told the central office staff, our directors, that we need to be resources. We work hand in hand. We're not so much standing above our teachers and saying, do this, do that. Certainly, there's policies that we expect them to follow and things that we need to do, but they need, our teachers need to feel like, we're a resource to them. A resource hand in hand. I don't want our teachers to feel like, the central office walks in the front door of school. Oh my goodness, they're here. What's about to go? What could it be? Uh,
Yeah.
that comfort level. And plus, the second thing too is I'm glad you brought this up. Is I've been talking to some of our directors for several months now. Is that I feel, and I said this in Montgomery. I was gone the first 3 days of this week. I had to go to a superintendent's conference as a new superintendent. I had to be there for a day and a half to go over all kind of different things. But um, you get to network and hear how some things work, as Reverend said, in other systems, and get that. But we talked about, and we say this to the State Department. On one hand, you say that you want to retain teachers, and then what are we going to do to retain teachers? But then on the other, then you get all these new things coming down for teachers to have to do. We're overwhelming our teachers with paperwork and do this and do that, and we're to me, I just want them to teach. So we've talked about ways of taking some of that off of our teachers, trying to streamline some things, because I don't want a teacher, by the time it gets to Wednesday, they may be burned out because of all the other things they've had to do along with just being a teacher. They're the most important commodity we have. I mean, we can have computer programs and we can have professional development and we can have all kind of things to do, but ultimately it's our teachers that drive the whole engine. It's our
Yeah.
teachers who are the ones who are the most important thing we have in education. And I said this in Montgomery. I'm a new guy, but we're in different little conversations, and I had that to one of the assistant superintendents, and she's part of the curriculum for a city for the state. And I said that. I said, we cannot continue to every year come up with new bills and new things and say, let's have the teachers do this and let's have the teachers do that, and then you wonder why we're
It's a
losing teachers.
shortage. That's right.
You wonder why. You wonder why that, at JSU 4 or 5 years ago, there was about 150 students who were coming out of the education department who wanted to be teachers. Last year, me and Miss Vanessa and a couple of principals went, and there was about, I think, 85 to 88. That's almost half of what it was just 5 or 6 years ago. So we've got to do, and there's only so many things that we can do. There's some things that we're required for teachers to do, but we've got to find a way to streamline some of what teachers are under right now.
Do you think that part of the problem may be that there are people sitting at the table making decisions that are not educators, or they have not spent that time in the classroom?
I'm going to say, yeah. Look, Reverend, I don't know how far reaching this show is. I don't know.
Oh,
You
it
know,
reached
Look, as
nationwide, my friend.
the new superintendent Gadsden, I'm about to talk about the state levels. Bishop T's gonna get me in trouble right off the
You
bat.
might want to plead the fifth.
Conversation private.
Plead the fifth.
Um,
We nationwide. We like CNN, baby.
Private.
look, Bishop T. I'll say I agree with you. I've said that myself. I think sometimes we forget the voice, of the people who put these things in perspective. I like to hear from my teachers. In a few weeks, as a matter of fact, I'm bringing up all of our Teacher of the Year all the ones who were Teachers of the Year at their respective schools. I'm bringing them up to central office so I can have a conversation with them. What do you think we need to do? What do you think that we struggle with? What do we do well? What do we need to keep improving upon? It's kind of something I want to try to do every year. I get around and talk to the teachers as much as I can. Like I said, I like to be out and about, but I want to have those conversations with our teachers to help us implement what we need to do. How can we streamline things? I mean, I can't promise that we can streamline everything, but I will do my best to try to take as much off of you as I can. Because, like I said, we need our teachers in a good state of mind, mental health wise. The better that teacher feels about their job, the better job they're going to do.
That's what I wanted to kind of get to as well. Mental health. We see Jocelyn Warford on here, and she works in that field. The director over in Atala. there, you know, the mental health issue is on high alert.
Mhm.
You talking about the stress of teaching. Um, I tell people when I ride my motorcycle, I'm exhausted once I get off because I'm so safety conscious. And you get exhausted by, do I need to run this red light or do I need to stop? Because if this car behind me is not slowing down and this light is about to turn red, I can't stop because he's gonna run through me on this motorcycle. And then if I run this light, these cars sit on the side street, are they easing out? So my head is on a swivel. Is an animal finna run out on the road, or are people on their phone texting? So I'm exhausted trying to enjoy riding my bike. I said that to say this. There are people who teach and have a passion to teach and enjoy teaching, but they're exhausted each day because they don't know when that alert button is going to go off. If somebody in the school is fighting, if someone in the school is something is happening in Gadsden that took place in Columbine, you follow what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's you know, they safety conscious as well. They on alert. Somebody looking suspicious. Somebody's not acting themselves. I can't do my job and not have to look over my shoulder. You follow what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that is a lot. And we lost a lot of teachers in our system during COVID. A lot of people when it was like it was time to go back in the classrooms, because there was a lot of tragedy that took place, a lot of deaths took place during COVID. Some of the people who had issues already decided to go ahead and retire instead of dealing with going back into the classroom and a possibility of catching that virus. So it's a lot that is taking place, and it messes with your mental state constantly, over and over, every day, going through the routine. Um, and not to include our younger people as well. So you know, and you're over, you know, you still, and let's go ahead and put this out here, because yes, you're the superintendent, but you still have other roles that you are maintaining, um, because number one, nobody else want it, and number two, you're very good at it. So what are the roles that you're still? I know transportation, right?
Yes.
What about security?
Mr. Parker, those of you haven't, everyone knows
Okay.
Johnny Parker. You know, Johnny's been around for quite some time. Me and him were, you know, we worked together way back in Gadsden High times. Me and him were assistant principals together. He's my former military guy, you know, so he's taken a lot of that off me with safety. You know, that's always gonna be my thing. That's all I've ever really, you know, I've done that a lot. I won't say all I've ever done, but safety's always been a big key part of what I did. So I'm still gonna have my hands in it. But Mr. Parker's taken a lot of that for me. He's also helped me a lot with athletics, you know, just making sure that things, you know, are running as they should, making sure things are in place, making sure guidelines are followed. He goes to a lot of the events. He'll message me and say, "Hey, we did this, or we won that, or this is how we did." So he's out. And that's a lot for him, because he also maintains C&P. You know, he also maintains testing and
Right.
textbooks. So
Right.
we've doled some things out. You know, Miss Maness, you know, you met Miss Baker the other night. You know, someone tried to help us a little bit with what she does. So
Right.
um, I want to get back to what you said about mental health with those in education. You know, part of what I try to tell, and I've told my people at the central office is, you know, let's get what we've got to get done. Let's get it done during the day, because I want you to be able to go home and be a parent. I want you to be able to go home and be a spouse. I want you to try to get home and enjoy family. Same thing with teachers. You know, sometimes teachers are there till, you know, they'll stay late and be working on things, but anything we can do to ease up things for teachers to be able to just go be a family person. You know,
Right.
take that mental break, you
That's
know, and go home. You know, go home, because you're going to burn yourself out. And
Yeah.
if you burn yourself out,
it's going to hurt me, and it's going to hurt us in the classroom, hurt the kids. So I want you to be able to go home. I want you to enjoy the holidays. I want you to, you can come to the game, sit and hang out and just watch, but just take that moment to just relax.
Right.
Just relax, because and that gets back to talking about you as a board member and Bishop T as a councilwoman, of being able to pat them on the back. That does a lot. That does more than people think, of just coming to a school. If either one of you show up at one of your schools and just walk in and just walk around, thank you for what you do.
Right.
I'm with you. Thank you for what you do. I appreciate what you do. That means a lot to teachers.
Right.
So anything that you can do there to help us, and I'll try to encourage them. Like I said, take the time to wind down, because if you stay wound up all the time, eventually you're going to overload, overheat, and
Right.
what happens after that. So,
Blow circuit.
but yeah, at the central office, I mean, we work on all that. Dr. Smoots, Dr. Smoots is handling a lot of different things for us. Miss Fairby in curriculum, Hector with Title One, Dr. Asbury. So we've shifted a few things around. We've shifted some people are getting some things I may not have dealt with before, but that's we try to be as efficient as we can. The more efficient we can run, the better I can get people home in a decent hour and just let them wind down.
I discussed this with you in our work session that we had on last Friday, and I was asking you about, and I see where Laura Bowley have put it. We need more social workers in the schools. I brought that up to you about the social workers, and I have one that is a member here at the church where I pastor, and she tells me about a lot of things that she see, tells me about a lot of things that she have to go through in order to help these kids, and really it gives me greater respect for Miss Smitherman and the job she's doing at Adam, because she's not just someone who goes to work, get a pay and leave. She's there with those children. So let's talk about that. You are allowed from the state how many social workers in the system?
The state hasn't necessarily got into the world of providing us monetarily. They've given some, and we've used some of the ESSER money and some of the money that we've been given throughout the whole COVID world. Now, I'm glad you brought that up. Dr. Mackey, our state superintendent, he was the last speaker yesterday at Montgomery. So mental health and social work was brought up by some of the superintendents, and he'd already had, I think, on his agenda to talk about. So obviously, he's heard from superintendents. He's heard from superintendents all across our state the need for mental health, the need for social workers. So his two platforms that he is pushing to legislators, which he's doing that this week. I think next week they're on break, but then the week after that, because he told us, he was kind of giving us the things he's looking at is providing school systems some extra money to hire social workers, to retain mental health professionals. Like we have Ashley Goggins. I don't know if either one of you have met Ashley Goggins. Ashley's been wonderful for us. There's situations I get in with some kids when I get called to with kids, and sometimes I'll call Ashley. And Ashley will get involved, and she'll go by and she'll check and she'll follow up. She does all that stuff for us. So he's pushing that with our legislators. So if you have any contact with our delegates around, either one of you, and I've said that to a couple already, please keep the push for that. Please keep a push for school systems to be provided some monetarily relief on hiring social work and mental health. He's also, superintendents over the last couple of years have asked for an assistant principal at schools with over 250 students, which would be at least probably 6 of our elementary schools. Which that way and we hope, I think all the superintendents and this is prior to me, they all apparently, they voted over the last couple of years and their top thing that they wanted was an assistant principal to the elementary schools, to kind of relieve the principals a little bit, to give them some help. So I'm giving you some of the I'm giving you some of the Dr. Mackey platform is that he's pushing our legislators for that, for an AP at our schools, and for mental health and social work.
Here go your board member.
Look, I told you I'm going to have to get some glasses. I can't. It's too small for me to
Listen,
read.
let me read. This is
Oh,
from Mark.
wow.
This is from Mark Dayton. He said, Dr. Mackey cares very little about what Gadsden and most school systems need. He only cares about the things that his bonuses are related to.
Oh Lord, yeah, I don't
This
know
is
that I speak to that.
nationwide, Dayton. So you're gonna mess around and hurt Gadsden. You can't say things like that on a nationwide show.
Yeah, and I just got to meet Dr. Mackey Monday. I haven't had that. I haven't had that opportunity just in the positions I've been in. So I can say this for him. He seemed very accessible. He messaged me, a few hours after I met him. We messaged back and forth a little bit. I guess trying to just, hey, how are things in Gadsden? He knows a little bit about Gadsden too, because he mentioned different places in
Yeah.
town. He mentioned
He,
places
he,
he's
listen,
eaten at
he know
before.
very well about Gadsden. For the last conferences we done been through to. Mark Dayton lets him know where he's from. He knows Mark very well.
I'm sure.
Now, and you're gonna probably get a message in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I need that right out of the gate, but okay.
This is what he said. I've told him the same thing to his face, and so has many board members from systems all over the state.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Mark confronts them every year at the conference. So Laura Bowley said, if we are in the halls, we can see changes in students and pull them in for a talk to offset some pending violence. And that is the last part. This is what she was simply saying. Social workers with mental health experience can see the signs earlier because we know what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to push. Mark, let's push for some more social workers, man. Where they can get. Well, let's push for social workers to be funded in the school system.
Yes.
Because let's talk about it. The CARES money is on its way out, isn't it?
It is. It is
When does it end?
The CARES.
When does the ESSER and the CARES? When is the deadline for it?
End of September
of this year.
Yes.
And everything that is funded from CARES and ESSER, it's going to have to be relooked at.
It is. Yeah. We're having our personnel meetings with each principal. Each principal will come in and we'll talk about their staff and we'll talk about things to try to move around to see what we can hold on to, because we know that funding's going away and we got to be creative and trying to hold on to as much as we can. So those conversations will start late next week, and carry on to probably almost spring break. When we meet, me and Miss Maness and some of my staff will sit down with each principal and have those conversations. It's been a luxury, so to speak, in the last several years of having a lot of, influx of money to be able to pay for a lot of things.
And that was due to COVID, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was all those things all those acronyms of all the different funding things that you've heard over the last couple of years was a response to trying to stem student loss due to COVID. Try to gain what you can back from the learning loss of kids being at home quite a bit. So, but they're pushing. The people, the SSA, the states, the School Superintendents Association, they have their own lobbyists who really push for things that school systems need. And I've met both of the people who really push that, and they seem to really listen to what superintendents say that they need, and then they go get before legislators and say this is what superintendents want and think that they need for the school system. So, my last 3 days in Montgomery were certainly eye-opening just to see how some of the processes work as far as the state budget and how legislators and some of their thought processes and all the bills that people put forward and try to get pushed through. So it was good for me. It was good for me to see some of that.
Awesome. Listen, and I know I've mentioned social workers But let me say this: my hat goes off to those individuals that are in the school with hands-on with our youth, because, um, like you said, when you have a relationship, a build a relationship with these children, you don't know the environment that they're living in. You don't know if they don't have anything to eat. You don't know.
Mhm.
I've heard stories where people had come to school, and because things were so bad at home, that they brought home to school with them, and they had to pretty much throw everything they brought away and go purchase them some things um, to wear, uh,
Mhm.
because it was just that bad. And I know that some of the social workers go around and collect shoes and clothes to be able to give to these children around holidays as well. So, and coats and things of sort, so that they can feel comfortable and not embarrassed about coming to school. There's a lot of things play into kids being absent from school. You never know; it could be an embarrassment or
That's
lack
right.
of. It's not the fact they don't want to be there. It's just the fact that they know they're going to be laughed at. And then the person that fight in silence. When I say fight in silence, they are bullied, but they're afraid to say something because they think no one is going to do anything about it. Those children are fighting in silence. So they need to be able to go to a instructor that really cares and will listen and take them seriously. I, you know, I had younger people in the church where I pastor, and I used to tell them certain people at the different school levels to go to and have that conversation with. That was their safe haven. Go see Miss Worthy. Go see Miss Kimball. Go see Miss Thomas. Go to them whenever you have an issue, and tell them I sent you to them. you know, I promise you they'll do something about it. Miss Maness, whenever I get calls from parents that don't even live in my district, but they need some type of assistance, I've always called Miss Maness, and like I told Miss Maness the other day, I don't know what all you do, but I do know you know who to send these folks to when when they come to you with the issue. So if I get on your nerves by calling you and having them to call you, just forgive me because I don't know. Um,
Hey, you brought something up. Let me cut in here and just mention, and Bishop T, you may have to. I feel bad saying that. I feel like I'm saying something I shouldn't say. It's saying Councilwoman Latham or something. I'm going to get used to this Bishop T stuff. We're trying to get donations with spring coming up and summer coming up for athletic gear. We have seen over the years, especially with our young kids who want to play some of our sports, that the price of equipment is sometimes a barrier for those kids to participate. So we ask, and I think Carver, I think East Gadsden, and Bishop T. I can't remember that. I know it's three different places that we're trying to ask people to donate bats or cleats or gloves that their child might have used and then they just sit in their garage. Those things that we can use and then turn to our. And I'm going to bring up softball. Like Coach Nunley, she's trying to get she's got a 10 and under team and a 12 and under team that she's wanting to play this summer to try to grow softball amongst our girls. But she needs some equipment, because parents want to play. They want their kid to play, but they can't afford because these sports are expensive. So I'd ask both of you to help me with that. I know the city council, I know it's been talked about. I know Tina King helped me a lot with that. Tina really kind of drove some of that for me to help get that out. But we will need to continue. I don't want to take my foot off the gas pedal for that because I don't want that to be a barrier because kids who participate, kids who, um, they get involved in some of those things, those extracurricular activities, that helps a lot of self-esteem. That helps a lot of health, a lot of health for those kids. So
So please help us with that too. Please still encourage people to donate any athletic gear that they have that's still in decent shape that we can pass on to our kids. So use y'all's platform for that if you would. So so I appreciate that.
All right.
Lord help, I see all kind of stuff on the thing, but I don't know
All
what I can
type
read
of
it.
stuff. One of the many things that I like about Mr. Blackwell. Now, this is your number one supporter. This
Who
is
that?
your
Does
number
that say
one
Jocelyn?
supporter. Yes, and we argue because she's very biased. And she can be that I have to and she poked the bear quite often. And she tries to do that just to see if she can get me to act out of character. So me and her have to go back and forth a lot on a lot of different issues. But one of the many things I like about Mr. Blackwell and Miss Maness duo is that they are concerned about every student in the system as a whole, regardless of their gender, ethnicity, background, income bracket, present or absent parents, behavior problems, etc. Of course, she laughing at me.
I
Team
appreciate
Blackwell.
that. And speaking of former kids, I can't see who all's on. I don't know if there's a button I'm supposed to mash, so all I can do is go by what you is Katina still on here?
Katina, Bet.
Thompson.
I'm not sure she's still on. She was on.
Okay, I was going to tell her to get off there. She's got kids to take care of. She's going to be staying on this all night long.
Yeah, she's still on.
Yeah. Pass that word on that she needs to go. She got 2 young kids to take care of. Don't need to be listening to this all night.
You know what, Superintendent Blackwell? I'm glad you said something that jarred my memory. I've been sitting here for like 10, 15 minutes trying to think of what I was going to say. I hope parents will not get mad at me for saying this. But let me go back, and I promise I'm done for the night. Thank you for coming on, and you can always, I know Pastor Z feels the same way, use our platform to get information out. Because after I say what I'm going to say, I'm probably going to have to sign off.
Hey, can I ask one thing before you sign off?
Okay.
I'm not
signing off. I'm saying I might have to.
Look, I was about to say too. I guess since I've been using my phone, I'm looking at it now. I'm at 7%, so I don't know how much longer I can go.
Go too.
But when you
tell your wife to bring the charger.
Yeah, knowing her, she may be asleep by now. When you said earlier about tea, about drinking like tea or something early on, are we referencing, I guess, sweet tea? Because I've got my own little cup of sweet tea here. I've been looking at for the last hour and a half.
No, tea. We have a young lady that comes on, part of our show, that spills the tea. Yeah, she talks about current events and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could have been Pastor Z been drinking Gatorade the whole time.
No, so y'all go ahead.
Go ahead, man. Yeah. Hey, this real talk. That don't look like tea though. Superintendent, that look like scotch.
No. Look, I try to be healthy. I'm somewhat of a fitness nut to an extent. Sometimes I probably walk around limping all the time, but my one vice that I just cannot stop is sweet tea.
Sweet tea. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
Sweet tea. That's my thing. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Very quickly, I will say this. You talked about teachers being able to go home and kind of decompress from the day. And even though a lot of times about education, a lot of times teachers have to take materials home or grade papers or whatever. It's been 2010 since I was in the classroom. But I will say this. I will encourage parents to give teachers that space in the grocery stores, out at the restaurants, because when they're in the grocery store, I say mall, but we don't really go to the mall anymore. We're out at restaurant stuff, whatever it may be. Schedule a conference. And I know some of you not gonna like what I'm saying. Schedule a conference. Give them that space, because if you work a job, you don't want to have to deal with it 24/7. And it's kind of unfair to say that, if it's important for you to stop them in the mall, don't start emailing me either and calling me and texting me. If it's important for you to stop them in the mall, if it's important for you to stop them in restaurants and start talking about your child, it ought to be important enough for you to schedule a conference and be able to go and sit down and let that teacher really articulate to you where your child is. Give teachers, educators, principals, give them that opportunity to have their time when they're not in that classroom. And after saying that, I know I cannot
That was good. That was good, because if you saying that they need that time apart from, you want them to go home
just to decompress.
How can they decompress if they getting confronted everywhere you know when you see them? I mean, like you said, schedule that appointment.
And so you can
now listen. Let me say this.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people saying Team Blackwell, Team Blackwell. I'm glad you got that job. Now, Mr. Blackwell have said this to us, that all of us have got to do our part in order for our system to be successful. So everybody that's cheering, we want you to do whatever you can. Call him and say, ask him, what is it that you can do in order to help the system be successful? It's true. The more hands, the more we can do. And we have a lot of people with a lot of knowledge. I see a lot of smart people on here. I see a lot of people in different positions on here. We could actually we need your help. So call Mr. Blackwell. You got his personal number. Call him and ask him, what can you do to help assist him in order for us to make our system successful?
Pastor Z, and something that you said, you and I were having a conversation sometime this week. Stop waiting until there's a situation or a circumstance to pack out the board meetings, to show up. You know, go when there's not an issue. Be proactive with the situation or with the system. So I promise you nothing else.
Now, Patrice said this, give that same energy that you would give for one school that demands it. When you're no longer connected to that school, give it to the next school. I don't care where it's at. Doesn't matter who's in charge. Remember, we are the Gadsden City School System. We don't look at no one school as it being greater than any other. All of our children matters. We want to make sure every child is given the same opportunity and make sure that they're college and career ready when they leave our system. So if you, and let's use it for example, you're Brown, 100% PTSO participation, 100%. And if you are a parent at your Brown, when you get to Gadsden Middle, when you get to Gadsden City, it need to be 100%. You need to be there and making sure you're there just like you was when you was at your Brown, you was at Mitchell, you was at Emma Sampson, Walnut Park, Stripling, whatever school it is. Every school matters. Every school, Litchfield, Emma Sampson, Gadsden Middle, Donahue, you name it, all of the schools, they matter. Floyd, let's get involved with our children, give our children a head start in life. If you work with them at home and reward them at home for working with them at home, it won't be that hard for the teacher when they get to school.
Amen.
And one of your teachers said the third grade teachers are catching it. And you know why they're catching it? Because they have to get these children on third grade reading level. So it's extra work. All of our children matter. And I thank you, Mr. Blackwell, for considering and taking care of all of our children. And let me say this. I'm not going to put anybody down in order to promote you, because I hear people say that all the time. We now have. I believe Mr. Reddick loved all the children.
And let me say this too.
Dr. Miller loved all the children.
Yes,
I mean, that's my opinion.
Yes, and I'm not going to get caught up in that either. You know, I have a lot of respect for those gentlemen
Dr. Miller did a lot. Tony, me and Mr. Reddick had a great relationship. And he has a big heart as well. So I thank you for saying that. I appreciate you saying that. And I appreciate you saying everyone get involved, because I'm going to be honest. I'm only going to be as good as the people around me and supporting what we're trying to do. I can push and push and push, but I need people to help push with me.
Yeah.
And I know that's what you're doing. And Bishop T, I appreciate you doing it as well. If you point me in some direction, where I need to come and speak, just let me know so I can put it on the calendar. So everyone's going to hear the same message over and over and over. It's going to be a broken record. People may get tired of it, but it's going to be my platform.
Let me say this for your phone run out. I know you said you only had a few.
I'm down to 4% now.
4%. Let me say this right quick then. I want to thank you for helping Old School Weekend take place this past year. Old School Weekend was pretty much was not going to happen at Gadsden City High School. I brought it up in a meeting. You told me have Anthony Treadwell to get with you, and you think that you can make it happen. And I thank you for making it happen, because I think it's on the brink of happening again. Okay. Yeah. So thank you for investigating and making that happen, because like I said, we don't have much, but our community don't have much to attend and have much to do. So we definitely want to, eliminate the very thing that we've been having. And plus, Mr. Treadwell is in our schools. He's a role model. He's been dressing the young men. He, along with Reverend Thomas, and they go to the schools, talk to our young men, and try to teach them how to be young men. And so they're doing positive things, and they're feeding into the feeder schools as well as the high schools. So they give back. So thank you so much for that.
I enjoy that. I almost got to play in that one year. Your brother tried to sneak me out of the locker room in the layup line with him, and he was going to argue the fact that I taught at Gadsden High. And I was excited about it. I thought, I'm going to get to play in this. As soon as we came out, I had some of the other guys I know were like, no, he's not playing. So I was kind of excited that night. I was in the locker room. I was all stretched and ready to go. And but it's fun to watch. Now, it's one of those things where I know how good some of those guys were, because a lot of those guys that used to kind of play at the community centers and places like that. But now as we get older, our mind knows what to do. We know what to do on the court, but the old body's not going to move like it's supposed to be. So it's kind of funny to watch sometimes, just to see some of that. So I'm glad we do it. I know we've added the Gadsden City High School alumni, which they're much younger than the other guys, so that's kind of an unfair advantage. But it's kind of fun to watch. So I'm glad they get to have that.
Awesome. Any final words you want to say before your battery die?
No, I appreciate what you're doing. I think next time we do this, I need to have a nice background like y'all have. Y'all got that cool Real Talk background. I just have to sit here in my office in my house. But thank you for letting me come on. And as you said early on, we are good. I want everyone to make sure they understand that, Reverend. We're in a good place. You certainly can get on me whenever you need to, when you think I need to correct something. I've always admired that about you. But yeah, we're certainly good. And Bishop T, that's what I'm going to call you from now on. So don't. If I shouldn't do that, tell me now. But then I see you in public, I'm going to say Bishop T. So.
I tell you, like I tell everybody else, Mr. Blackwell, Tanya works.
Okay.
It works. It works every time. It's the name my mother gave me, so it works. We I kind of like Bishop T. It's got a good ring to it. But thank y'all for letting me come on. I'll come on again. If we want to do this every few months, and just that way I can give everybody kind of an update on how things are going or how things are progressing. So just let me know. So absolutely, thank y'all so much. Thank you.
And tell Katina once again, get off of this and get taking care of my grandkids.
Yes. Hey man, have a good one. Tell your wife and family we said thank you for lending thank you for lending you to us on tonight.
Okay, thank y'all. Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
All right. Well, we enjoyed that. That was great, wasn't it?
It was. Hey, here you go with your music again.
Yeah, we finna go off.
Take it
We had
out.
a good time. Thank all of you for joining us on tonight.
You don't have that rhythm like that.
Listen, I used to dance like I was a member of the senior choir. That's the joke of the day.
You ain't got that sound.
All right, y'all. We enjoyed it. Thank you all for joining us on tonight. Thank you for all your input. Thank you for sharing the information. Tamara with the T is not going to be with us. Tamara with the T is not with us on tonight, but she's going to do her best to join us on next week. Looking forward to have another great show. Bishop T, you want to tell them we out of here?
We out. Deuces.